Hey everyone, welcome to Wildlife Inspired. I'm your host, Scott Keys. Today's video, I've got a product review. This is called the Speed Shooter Harness by Whistling Wings. I'm going to tell you, is this an investment of money that you should make for your wildlife photography? We'll find out right after this. Now, I had seen this product years ago and was kind of curious about it. You know, does it work? Is it gimmicky? A friend of mine last year recommended it, and I had casually reached out and said, hey, do you want to send me one of this? I'd be happy to review it. I didn't hear back, and by the way, that's no fault of theirs. I think it was just a message that never got seen. But it reminded me when my friend got this product recently, I said, do you mind if I borrow this and try it out? So I did. So this this product review is simply me giving you my thoughts on this and whether or not it works. Now, here's the great thing about this review in particular. So with all my reviews, I'm going to tell you how I got it. And because I have zero affiliation with this company, nothing was given to me. If I don't like it, I get to tell you. Now, I spoiler alert on this one. I think it's interesting. I think you should watch this review. There are some things about this that I really, really like. And there's not a huge downside. So is it worth the money? Let's talk about the money on this one first. So I'm going to send you over. There's a link down below, but if you're interested, check out the website and it'll give you all of the listing of prices. The basic harnesses, I'm going to say 75 bucks. It might be 70 bucks. There's a belt attachment that you can kind of like upgrade. There are several pads. So this could run you from as little as $70, probably up to a couple $100 if you get a lot of accessories with it. So there's holsters and bags and pads. So pretty well thought out. By the way, this is an independent company. So I kind of like the idea when people just figure things out. So I think this is just independently done and manufactured for the wildlife community. And I've heard some really good things about it. I want to differentiate this product and how it works. So I'm going to put it on in a minute, but the product works by inserting a monopod. If you've ever seen a flag holder, I got to believe that was the inspiration of this. And maybe you could even buy a flag holder and use it. But a flag holder is like a harness. You support the weight of the flag, you march around, you do your thing in it. This works very similarly. So you will need a monopod. So to use this, you have to own a monopod and you have to have some kind of a head. In this case, I'm going to be using the Wimberley side-mounted head. It's a tried and true head for monopod shooters. It's an offset head. I'll show you that in a minute. It means it's off axis. Again, you're going to see I'm going to put it on in just a second. It is not taking the place of a tripod. I want to differentiate that. I always think every wildlife shooter should have a mobile system. So whether it's a hand holding on a sling to carry something like this speed shooter or just the monopod, you should have a mobile system. And it's a good idea to have a stable system. So a tripod, and this system isn't going to necessarily take the place of that. You could try to use this in lieu of a tripod, but at some point in your career, if you're just starting out, maybe a monopod and something like the speed shooter would get you by, or just the monopod. But at some point, it's a good idea to add that tripod because you're going to find it very versatile, very helpful with slower shutter speeds. And if you're doing video, you're going to probably want a tripod as well. So let me go ahead and put this on real quick. I'm going to try to do this live, so I'm not going to cut as I do this. There are some adjustments here, so I did have to adjust this. The person that loaned this to me, the reason they got this is because they're a little smaller. They've got a setup that is, and I apologize if my mic's going to pick up some of this movement. They were worried about hand holding and carrying a heavier setup. So they've gone to this, okay? I apologize if my mic is making noise here, but I think I'm good now. So they went with this system, and again, they've agreed to let me borrow it. So thank you for that. A lot of extra loop. I'm not going to cut that off for this video because I don't own it. But I was able to cater this to my size. And this will probably get you, if I'm 6 feet, this fits pretty comfortably. I've got some more adjustment in here. I've got plenty of waist here. So I think you're okay. Even if you're a little bit taller than 6 foot, you're not going to have any problems. I'm about 200 pounds. I'm going to say 190. I'm not. I'm 200 pounds. But if you are up above that, I don't think you're going to have a problem because there's a lot of adjustment here. So what I typically would use in a mobile situation is my monopod. And the advantage of a monopod, I've done videos on this, is I can move side to side. I can shoot through windows. It's a little tougher to go up and down. So when I have to pop this to get up and down. Not bad, but it's a little bit more work. The difference between this system and that system is my monopod, and this is the fundamental difference. This is the big part of the video. My monopod is going to be anchored to the ground. The second unit is going to be anchored to my body. There's a pro and a con to that, so stay tuned. Now, I did remove, this is a little foot, I'll put it up here so you could see it. You could see my particular monopod foot on the robust monopod that I'm going to be showing this on is a little bulbous, it sticks out, and that did not fit into this little pouch that's down here. Remember, I used that analogy of a flag holder. So this is where the flag, the monopod, is going to go. I'm going to be careful when I get this. I've got a heavy setup here. I've got a Z9 400 2.8. It's a lot of weight. There are some setups heavier than that, not a lot. I've got this set up so that the side mount is to my right. So my right eye, right hand is on this side. On my monopod, I typically am reversed. The neat thing about Wimberley, by the way, is you can actually just spin this around the other way and you can go the other way with it. So I'm gonna spin this around this way. And this was their recommendation. So I'm gonna go with this. I had to remove that monopod foot and I'm gonna stick it in here. Trying to make a video and do this all at the same time live. I think I got it. And I'm gonna make sure that's all the way down in the pouch. And there it is. Okay, so that's my offset system. I'll turn this way so you can see it. I'm gonna adjust the height of this, which I've already done, exactly to my eye level. So no matter where I go now, I'm eye level. Notice the point of contact is me. I am the anchor, not the ground. That is a fundamental difference, and it's probably the biggest point of this video to say. It's going to offer some advantages and some disadvantages. Let's just start with the biggest advantage of this system is that I've got all of the weight, so the weight's in the middle of my body, supported on each shoulder. Now, if I'm in the field, that's actually not a pro. If I'm standing still, that's not a pro because the monopod has the weight. I don't. So if I'm stationary for hours and hours, this is adding weight to my body that doesn't need to be there. Where it is an advantage is if I'm hiking. So I'm gonna give you an idea of what I think hiking with this is gonna look like. I've done some small hikes, nothing major. Something like this. And that's pretty comfortable, honestly. I'm not putting a lot of weight on one shoulder. It's balanced here. I honestly feel like I could hike for a couple miles and have no problem and not feel uncomfortable. With my monopod, the way I would hike with this is simply to rest it on my shoulder, all of that weight on one part of my shoulder. And when I do long hikes with the monopod, I will often come home bruised right in this area or really sore in that area. So big advantage here. But remember, if I'm stationary, if I'm not hiking long distances, this is a part of my body. I've added weight to my body permanently while I stand in one spot. So that is the key differentiation. It's something I need people to think about in the case use. Now, here's one thing. You can have a monopod and do both. So no hikes, I could use a monopod, or short hikes, I can use a monopod if I'm standing in one spot. If I'm hiking a lot and I'm going to be changing locations often, this probably makes a lot of sense. Again, around $70 for the harness, goes all the way up from there depending on the system you get. So just the harness, not a huge investment. I'm going to give you some case uses for this. And one thing, I'm going to go ahead and take this out now, but I want to show you one more big advantage before I do. The ability to change direction. When I'm moving left or right, the monopod comes with me, right? So it's going with me as I go. With this one, I do need to kind of pick it up and move it, but it's not a big deal. So no huge advantage for this system, but when I go down, the monopod goes down and up with me. So when I'm changing this up and down, that makes a difference. So when I'm changing my horizontal position or my vertical position, makes a big difference. If I'm moving laterally or horizontally, not that much of a difference. So two big differences. One, long hikes, two shoulders, a lot of weight distribution, seems better. If I'm moving up and down a lot, this system will allow that to happen much more easily. I'm gonna go ahead and take this out, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about the differences between all of these systems. So I'm gonna talk, let me just make sure I have that set. I'm always worried when I'm making live videos, and I don't edit out a lot of this stuff, so you get to see all the imperfections of my videos sometimes. I'm always worried that's gonna fall off one day. We're not comparing this to a tripod. So a tripod to me is just a totally different system. I want to mention this. When I insert that tripod or that monopod in here, there's a tether that attaches from here to the camera or the monopod or the lens foot, wherever you want to attach it. That is not designed to be hands off. So I didn't put that on for this video, but you're not supposed to just take your hands off and let it hang. You could. You saw me with it over my shoulder, the same way I often do with a monopod. I kind of like rest it on here with my camera as I'm waiting, and I kind of hug it like this. You can do the same sort of thing, but with either of these systems, they're not hands-free systems. The tripod is. So tripod is hands-free, long waiting times, maybe shorter hikes, and a lot better in terms of slower shutter speeds, the most stable system, and if you're doing video, a huge advantage. If we've decided we're going to be mobile, we've got three options. We can do a strap and hand hold it. We can use the monopod by itself, or we can use the monopod and the speed shooter. And each of these has an advantage over the other. So I just want to start, I'm going to wrap this up. It's going to be a quick video. Again, I don't make any money on this video. This is just for you. I had a curiosity about it. I figured if I'm going to play around with it, I'll turn the recorder on. I'll show you what I think of it, give you a 100% honest opinion. I'll put some links down below if you're interested, but they're not even affiliate links. They're just links for you to check it out. So if you like this video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. I need your help on this one because this is just for you. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. Get all that out of the way now. And let me tell you what I think about each of these and maybe case uses and which one is best for which use. When it comes to hiking, so purely hiking, I have always appreciated a sling system with 2 points now. I used to use a black rapid strap. I've got some videos on this, by the way. You can check those out in my playlist. It's under hardware or gear. The black rapid strap kind of swung a little bit. I went to a Peak design strap, which has 2 points of contact, and I'm using QD connectors, those quick connectors, in that system. I've been using that well over a year, and I really, really like that system. To me, hiking with that system is probably the easiest. I don't have to put this harness on, and I'm hands-free. I can hike. I can even like climb a little bit and keep that camera kind of stable with one hand. To me, it's the best. The second best, though, is this system. And if I'm doing long hikes and one strap is cutting into my shoulder, this is the best in terms of distributing weight. So bar none. There's a system called a cotton carrier, which does a very similar thing. Distribute your weight in 2 points. It's also a good system, but with that system, you've got the camera hanging right on you like this. I showed you how I can pop that over my shoulder, put it in the harness, and kind of hike in a little bit more comfortable position. So I like that one a lot for hiking, especially for long distances. My least favorite for hiking is the tripod because it's heavier, but the monopod puts all of that weight on one shoulder. For short hikes, not a big deal. For longer hikes, that is something to think about because that, especially if you're smaller and with a lot of heavy gear, that can really start to aggravate your shoulders and it can be cumbersome. Stability. So tripod's the most stable, we know that. The next most stable is actually going to be this monopod. And the reason for that is pretty simple. This is anchored to the ground. So when I've got my camera on here and I'm on the ground, I can become pretty stable. I can even take some video. Now the video quality won't be the same. It will absolutely sway a little bit no matter how stable you are as a person. That's going to rock just a hair. But it's usable video for short clips. Hand holding is going to be the opposite. Hand holding's the worst. Trying to shoot video hand holding or slow shutter speed hand holding, very, very difficult to do. The speed shooter is in between. It's not as stable as the monopod. And the reason is because it's anchored to my body. And as my body moves, that monopod is actually going to move with me. So that speed system, that speed shooter system, the harness system, I'm the anchor. And any movement that my body makes, even breathing, is going to be picked up a little bit in the lens. It will come across most of the time through video. It will come off sometimes with slow shutter, but with higher shutter speed, that is not going to matter. So either of those systems isn't going to matter. So stability-wise, tripod's the most, but then the monopod, the speed shooter, hand holding would be the least favorite. The other part of this I want to mention is just that standing time. So if there's downtime, if we're waiting, again, the tripod's the best, but that monopod is going to be a better option to me for standing because the weight is supported on the ground again, and it's not by using my body. When it comes to mobility in the field, it's a little bit different. So the fact that that is tethered to me as a person, and I'm the anchor, I can move anywhere I want, and I can even go up and down vertically quicker than I can with a monopod. So for the sake of mobility, I'll call it, moving from one spot to a next, The speed shooter harness, probably the most agile. Monopod second. I'm going to list hand holding third. And some people might say, well, that's not the case because hand holding, I can go anywhere with the camera. Yes, you can move anywhere you want with that camera when you're hand holding it or you have it on a strap. But here's the difference. With these systems, the lens will always be pointed generally where you think action is going to happen. If I'm photographing songbirds in a meadow and there's not a lot of action, I can rest this pointing at the songbirds, waiting for them to arrive. If I'm using a sling and action takes place, I have to lift that up. So it's actually the slowest way to shoot because of that lifting. If I've got it up to my eye, fine, I can move anywhere I want, but that's not practical. So practically speaking, the most mobile system, speed shooter first, closely followed by the monopod, and then lastly, the sling. So that's what I've got for you on this review. It's quick and easy, it's nuts and bolts. I gave you the biggest difference in the fact of where that anchor is occurring and how that weight is distributed. I think it's a decent investment. I'm gonna be honest with you on this one. Will I invest in it? No, right now. If I'm in a situation where I'm doing more photography and I'm hiking more often, so if I started running workshops where we were hiking a lot, or if I started to take up a hobby where hiking was more of the outcome than the photography, I probably would look at this system. I would start with that $70 system, very low investment cost compared to what I've spent on the other gear, and I would probably give it a look. If you are concerned about weight distribution, I would absolutely check this one out. I think my friends were right on this one. A couple of them recommended it to me. I wasn't sure. I thought it was a little gimmicky, but you could see it. Listen, as wildlife photographers, we look a little wild anyway. What's adding a little harness around your chest and putting that monopod inside of it? I think it's got some merit. It will not replace a tripod, so keep that in mind. What a tripod is used for still probably has some best case scenarios. You're not gonna supplement a tripod with this. But if you were starting out with a monopod and you wanted something to hike with, really, really good option, so check that out. Down below, I will put some other links. The monopods I feature in this one, I've got an old Faisal monopod. I've had it for years, it's really, really good. I've got a Robus monopod here. The monopod that I use is a Leo Photo. It's a much thicker diameter. It didn't work well with this one, but I'm gonna put it down there because that actually is my everyday monopod. It's very, very durable and waterproof. I'm gonna link that down there and highly suggest taking a look at that Leo Photo. I'll put links to that Wimberley Sidekick as well because that's probably the best one to use for this. There is also one made by Pro Media Gear. That's the one I actually use. I didn't want to feature it in this video because it's not as popular, but a similar purpose. It's a little bit more expensive. It's very robust and it's a really nice product. So that Tomahawk GT2 by Pro Media Gear, that is an affiliate link. That'll be down below, as well as some of the gear that I showed you in this video. Hope you enjoyed this quick one. Quick review. If you like these, check out my hardware playlist. It's called Hardware and Gear. That'll give you a lot of different reviews on tripods and monopods and gimbals and all sorts of things. So if you like that, check that out. Again, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. And as always, I hope we can continue to find inspiration in wildlife together.